And coming up tonight, Cameroon looks at 25 years of fruitful cooperation with the Commonwealth since the country was admitted into the People-Centered Club in November 1995. Members of Parliament attending the third ordinary session of Parliament have been contributing their opinions on burning national concerns at the start of the budgetary session Thursday. Plus, persons living with diabetes are receiving lectures in Yaoundé on how to check the sugar level in their blood and halt the increase of diabetes as the nation waits to commemorate World Diabetes Day tomorrow. Good evening and welcome to the 7:30 News. I am Benin Bumagana in Yaoundé.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Let's begin this evening. Members of Parliament at the start of the budgetary session have expressed their opinions on issues relating to peace, unity, decentralization, and the coronavirus in the country. The third ordinary session of the National Assembly started yesterday, Thursday, in Yaoundé, and Charles Ebune sampled the opinions of some MPs in the following report.
The first issue of concern for the lawmakers is the almost 4 years of disquiet in the northwest and southwest regions.
The context of security crisis with northwest and southwest crisis, the context of fire not with Boko Haram.
The nation entirely decries those killings, and so the National Assembly is not isolated.
We cannot destruct the school, we cannot kill our own children because we are fighting for any cause.
The parliamentarians also reacted to the speech of the House Speaker, Honorable Kavai Yege Jibril, especially on the coronavirus pandemic.
I want to thank the President of the National Assembly because all aspects has been touched.
As a statutory element, the quality of the next state budget they have to adopt is on their mindset. Naturally,
the law stipulates that the finance law is the finance bill is given to parliamentarians 15 days before this session. So once again, we're 15 days late.
On the decentralization process, the people's representatives are hopeful the December regional councils and assemblies elections will give complete meaning to local governance.
Whether the 15% allocated to local councils will be enacted in the various state budgets.
To keep the peace of the nation and withstand the shocks of economic misfortunes prompted by the coronavirus, the lawmakers are tasked to see Cameroon first before their political attachments.
On the prescription of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, the 2021 budget program is tailored to relaunch Cameroon's economy in its diversity, taking into consideration the global economic situation. Luma Slim Davis in the following report takes a look at some orientations of the 2021 budgetary program. His report.
The directives of the Economic and Budgetary Program for 2021-2023 is in accordance with the prescriptions of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya. Emphasis is on the health and sanitary situation and the attenuation of the COVID-19. Emphasis is also on the major national dialogue with a view to reconstruct the Northwest and Southwest regions and accelerate the decentralization process and provide security. The concern also is to finalize major first-generation projects related to the Triennial Economic Emergency Plan for Economic Growth, the Special Triennial Plan for Youth, and the organization of SHAN 2021 and CAN 2022. This budgetary program encourages local production of goods in large scale to take care of trade balance. Tourism enterprises and others severely hit by the coronavirus pandemic will benefit from tax exemption and other custom duties.
November 1995 to November 2020 makes it 25 years since Cameroon became the 52nd member state of the Commonwealth. 25 years in the Commonwealth is also reminiscent of the efforts of the Cameroonian delegation headed by President Paul Biya to summit where Cameroon was admitted. Here now is Charles Ebune with a review of relations between Cameroon and the Commonwealth since 1995.
Cameroon's entry into the world's largest geocultural club, the Commonwealth, was one of the most important events for the country in the past century.
The head of state decided then to have a more active affirmation, projecting to the world scene our bicultural and bilingual nature. That is what motivated this decision to work towards our adherence, our membership of the Commonwealth in Auckland on the 13th of November 1995.
A quarter of a century ago, the voluntary association with plus 2 billion citizens has been a reliable partner in Yaoundé's institutional reform agenda.
One of the major elements of our judicial system in our process of harmonization is the Harmonized Criminal Procedure Code, which was put in place with the help of the Commonwealth, particularly the Commonwealth Lawyers and the Commonwealth Magistrates Association.
Today, the Commonwealth has built capacity to strengthen the governance mechanism in policy areas like elections.
ELECAM, as we have it today, is the brainchild of the Commonwealth.
Considered as a world of indelible mark on democracy, the Commonwealth remains an unquestionable partner on the One Cameroon policy.
The distribution of voters' cards for regional council elections will begin on Monday, November 16, 2020. Municipal councillors and traditional rulers have till voting day to collect their cards. Ebenezer Akanga presents the specificities of the cards.
There are two colors for the two types of voters' cards for the two electoral colleges. Yellow for the Electoral College of Municipal Councillors and rose for traditional rulers. Close to 25,000 cards for the two electoral colleges have been printed by ELECAM. The voters' cards have already been dispatched to the 58 divisional agencies of ELECAM. According to the head of the agency from Fundi, Yannick Basil Fuda-Tangana, distribution of the cards will begin on Monday, November 16, 2020, in accordance with the law that states that distribution of voters' cards should begin 20 days before voting day. Voters can collect their cards from divisional agencies of ELECAM, but ELECAM will also devise strategies to reach out to voters so that all the cards are distributed.
The chairman of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, Reverend Dr. Dieudonné Massigams, informs the public that as part of the national campaign to affix anti-corruption notices on the facades of administrative buildings launched in 2018, CONAC teams will be deployed to divisional headquarters from November 16 to 2020 in order to affix the set plaques. The campaign seeks to remind public officials of the administrative principles of free public service and to popularize the CONAC toll-free number 1517. Let's talk health now. As Cameroon prepares to join the international community to observe World Diabetes Day, we take you to Obolover to discover a retired civil servant in his 50s who has been battling with diabetes for over 15 years now. Derich Alenyui tells us more in this portrait.
Alex Chofo has been living with diabetes for 16 years now.
I've been suffering from this diabetes in 2004.
A reality he could not believe but had to accept.
It was a strange sickness to me because I thought inherited from the family, but my father did not have diabetes, nor my mother.
Checking his status every morning has become a daily routine.
We measure the blood sugar as often as possible.
Alongside the treatment, he lives on less fatty foods as prescribed by medics.
Diabetic patients can eat everything, but there is the issue of the quantity, especially of sugary food. Take vegetable.
a situation that has been steady until 2014 when his legs got amputated caused by the disease. He equally takes off time every morning to do some keep fit exercises. With these, taking treatment and maintaining a healthy eating habit, he believes he can live longer.
Ahead of the World Diabetes Day, commemorated tomorrow, November 14, persons living with diabetes have been trained on how to check and control sugar level in their blood. But that is the report we'll be getting in this newscast or in the other newscast. The late Madame Regine Gonda Epouze Bijang has been buried in a private ceremony after requiem at the Saint Etienne Catholic Church. The funeral mass was said by the Bishop of St. Melima, Christophe Zouam, attended by the head of state, his wife Chantal Biam, other family members as well as well-wishers. Chief State House correspondent Ashu Nyenti reports.
They have seen it all, yet they are still filled with sadness and sorrow, though in dignity and with courage. But it is a mixture of sadness and joy in a life well spent, though lost. And the matriarch, Mama Regine Ngonda, is later interred in a private family ceremony as she gently whispers, my dearest dust, I come, the Lord shall raise me up, I trust. A reminder that from dust she came, and to dust she has returned. In all the requiems, as here at the St. Etienne Catholic Church, and previously in Yaoundé and in Mengong, her marital abode, one message echoes clearly, that the 92-year-old late Mama Regine Ngonda was a source of inspiration to many and an embodiment of love and generosity to all. Her life is thus proposed to others as a mirror towards perfection and usefulness. Unlike in Yaoundé, there is a larger and more diverse group of mourners, including members of government, parliament, captains of the economy, and the civil society. President Paul Biya, visibly satisfied with the handling of his sister's funeral rites by the clergy, gives further directives to the minister, director of the civil cabinet, Samuel Mbondo Ayolo, so that all ends well.
May her soul rest in perfect peace. The chiefs that make up the traditional college of BIYA have condemned in strong terms the recent gruesome murder of Chief Francis Milunga Nango. This was during their gathering at the Southwest Chiefs Conference Secretariat in BIYA. They used the meetings to call on the population of Liwola Malele to remain calm. Ethel Edimo Lefika reports.
The recent gruesome assassination of Chief Molinga Francis Nango has been condemned by BIYA chiefs. Their meeting today at the Southwest Chiefs Conference Secretariat served as a platform to decry such act.
It was a sad event that happened on that day, and it permitted us to convene this meeting and discuss on our traditional modality of burying him. We also touched a few issues which, after the burial, how we can give assistance to the wife and the children.
Traditional rulers also used the platform to send across a message of consolation to the people of Liwola Malale.
We have to ask the population of Liwola Malale because we don't appreciate our colleagues to be killed in that manner. It is more becoming too common in Fako Division.
Chief Molinga Francis Nango is the second chief to be killed in Fako Division.
The Minister Delegate at the Presidency in charge of defense informs listed candidates for the air's psychometric test for the recruitment of flight and specialized ground crew into the Air Force that due to conflicting agenda, the selection test initially scheduled from the 16th to the 20th of November 2020 at the Yaoundé Air Base 101 have been postponed to a date that will be communicated in due time. So, Those concerned are advised to listen to the radio program Honneur et Fidélité, broadcast on CRTV every Saturday from 2 p.m. to be informed of a new date. The first working session to assess the implementation of the Operational Action Plan to protect people living with disabilities as part of the national COVID-19 response strategy has taken off in Yaoundé. The plan to protect people living with disabilities is one of government's priority in the fight against the pandemic. Yoti Kale Lisonge reports on the strides made so far.
COVID-19 barrier measures in Braille. The visually impaired can now clearly understand how to protect themselves from contracting the coronavirus. Spots have also been made for those with hearing loss to get the message.
It is an inclusive and bilingual document for the blind. This is something very interesting.
This initiative, according to the Minister of Social Affairs, Pauline Irene Guinée, is to ensure the health of a people often subjected to discrimination and stigmatization. Protective gears are then given to associations of people living with disabilities.
There are some masks that can allow somebody to translate to those who are deaf and dumb.
And we're going to make sure that violations of persons with disabilities will have access to those skills.
Cameroon counts about 3 million impaired persons.
By Larry Efande.
It is a kick-off with renewed inertia, mobility and navigation within this 1,200 kilometers of the electricity transportation company, Sonatrach. It is now made easy.
Four-wheel drive vehicles for our collaborators of the field, and we have called them, the regional delegate, to come and collect these cars in order to work easily on the field and go far as possible in the villages in order to monitor and entertain our transmission lines.
With these four-wheeled pickups, they're sure to reach the peripheries, meander through the wild to secure the multiple power lines which stretches to all 10 regions of the country.
We have first of all purchased 3 power transformers of 50 MVA, which have installed one in Limbe in the southwest region, and 2 others in Kondenge and Ahala in Yaoundé. Those power transformers are performing very well, and I think the population is satisfied by the service.
With the state being its sole shareholder, Sonatrach is poised to manage public transport network, plan, develop and construct public electricity transport network in the country. This as the country prepares to host big sporting events.
We have to take all the necessary measures so that these competitions should be carried out smoothly in our country.
With this fleet of cars, Sonatrach is sure to tread on shore rails.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Of course, let's continue talking about a fight against the COVID pandemic. Since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, there has been some confusion in understanding the difference between an asymptomatic person and a COVID-19 patient. Health professionals say research has revealed that persons who are asymptomatic can easily transmit the coronavirus in the society. Now, Baldwin Sama is at the Public Health Emergency Center with his guest, Dr. Joseph Tokam, with details. Hi, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Benin Bumagana. Difficult at times it is to explain how possible is it for persons who are symptomatic, talking about the coronavirus, how possible is it for them to transmit the virus in the society, because some asymptomatic persons do not actually produce symptoms of COVID-19. We discussed that tonight with our guest, Dr. Joseph Okam. He is a virologist. Good evening to you, doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
Explain to us, how possible is it for an asymptomatic person, as far as the coronavirus is concerned, to transmit the virus in the society?
What we are seeing within the patients we have now in Cameroon, there is already a slight increase in the number of positive cases, yes. But most of those positive cases are people who are asymptomatic. They have no symptom. And what we have realized also in our context is that those who have a high viral load, they are those who easily transmit. And asymptomatic cases also, they do have like half of them who present with a very high viral load. So being asymptomatic doesn't mean you cannot transmit. Asymptomatic cases with high viral load, they are even the one driving the epidemic within our context. And that's why the case of symptoms, the case of no symptom, to screen who cannot transmit, we need to test and to be able to evaluate the viral load such that we know exactly who is at high risk of transmission in our context.
And how possible is it for one to easily make the difference between an asymptomatic patient and somebody who is who actually has all those signs of coronavirus?
The major discriminating factor is to get tested. And why? Because among those we have even tested with symptoms, half of them were not carrying the COVID-19 virus, meaning that there are other reasons that might give, that might be, for example, the normal flu or the cold virus that could also give similar symptoms. So the best way for a Cameroonian to be sure you are not positive, even if you are with or without symptoms, is to get tested. And in Cameroon, testing is free. And in Cameroon, if you are positive and you have been detected, what we do in Cameroon basically is we do case management, we do isolation, and once you are negative, you can return back to normal activities.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Okam, for being our guest this evening. We simply have to continue respecting all these barrier measures outlined by not only the World Health Organization, but especially by the government of Cameroon. Back to you, Benin Bumagana.
And thank you very much, Baldwin Sama van Keiman. A convoy of 14 trucks containing humanitarian relief material, this time from Manu Division in the Southwest region, has been received in BIYA by the Secretary General at the Governor's Office, Dr. Mohamadu. The relief material aimed at supporting internally displaced persons of Manu Division, as you tell us, Etel Edimo Mbela Lifita of the Southwest region.
The 14 trucks that arrived BIYA today contains relief material for Cameroonians in Manu Division who escaped to Nigeria due to the crisis rocking the region and are back but cannot fend for themselves.
Those trucks, you have mattresses, blankets, you also have foodstuffs, you also have beds, because those of them who came back in Cameroon, they did some beds to lie on. You have blankets, as I say, you have buckets, and so many small items, kitchen utensils. And here you are targeting more than 5,000 families, and about 10,000 people.
Gesture aimed at assisting the needy populations.
Officials of the National Advanced School of Administration and Magistracy, ENAM, have praised the level of training currently offered to 438 of their students at the National Armed Forces Training and Perfection Center in Gaundari in the Adamawa region. This was during a walking visit of the Board Chair and Director General of ENAM to the center precisely in Gaundal to discover the realities of trainees face on the training ground. Ellis Waji Banmia reports.
Singing as an element of motivation and a way to camouflage the pains inflicted by intense military training. This has been a routine for ENAM trainees at the National Advanced Armed Forces Training and Perfection Center, Sepefan Gaundal, for the past 20 days. They are taught fighting techniques, shooting exercises, and how to be morally strong in times of difficulties. Enam's board chair Faye Helen Kwanga and the Director General Bertrand Pierre Sumbu Angula, while visiting the trainees, encouraged them to faithfully acquire skills that will help to better serve the nation. The military training at Sepefan Gaundal of Enam students is expected to end in about 25 days.
Let's take a while now to find out where you can go to for fun this weekend. One of Cameroon's most beautiful birding artists, Sandrine Nanga, releases her first album titled Introduction in Yaoundé. You can also follow old school zouk tracks by Jacob Devario and Joseline Beroa live at the Bukaro Lounge in Yaoundé this weekend. More of that with Joy Starter.
Cultural page opens in cinema this weekend. Leslie Chefo's film Full Moon will be premiered tonight in Yaoundé. In music, you can shake out the week's stress with zouk artists Jacob Desvario and Joycelyn Derode at the Bukaro Lounge in the nation's capital. On Saturday, Kopo, Majwa Ayi, as well as other artists will be performing live at the Carousel Cabaret in Yaoundé. This Sunday also, the French Institute in Yaoundé will project a documentary film on Africa by Richard Minier. Have the best of weekends.
Now you know where to go to for the weekend. But before we go, the Ministry of Public Health shall be organizing local polio vaccination days from 07 to the 10th of November 2020 for the first round, and of course that has passed already, and from the 19th to the 22nd of November 2020 for the second round. Despite Cameroon's recent admission to the ranks of certified wild polio virus-free countries, other paralyzing forms of polio virus have also been recorded in the South region. As such, the objective of this campaign is to strengthen the immunity of 173,210 children aged 0 to 5 years in the 10 districts of the aforementioned region. Well, they say before immunization begins, parents and guardians will be sensitized through social mobilizers in households and through radios, churches, mosques, associations, schools, etc. And it's on that note that we come to the end of this edition of the 7:30 News. At 8:30, you listen to another edition, this time presented by Dudu Nicole. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing